Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
Something else.
something else, Daddy.
This is Nicole Matata, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
Degenerates and reprobates, welcome to the April 1st edition of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we watch some true classic from April 28th and October 5th, 2004. Joining me, as always, is the jackass to my hammerhead. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell are you today?
I'm a box of fluffy ducks, Arya. How's it going?
A box of fluffy ducks, you say?
That's a Roddy Piper line.
I don't know who this Rowdy Piper is that you speak of here on our marvelous.
You never saw that movie, They Live. It's really good.
Oh, of course, They Live. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about some other weird thing that we don't discuss on this show.
No. It was the same guy that was in Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Interesting.
God, Arya,
Nice.
you gotta learn your fucking IMDb.
I'm sorry. I love Luis Guzman in IMDb.
Yeah.
Did you get that reference?
No, I didn't.
Uh-huh. It was from Community. I must tell you that.
Oh, I
Yes.
didn't. I watched an episode or two. Did not get into it. Is it one of those that the first season you got to get through the first season?
You need to get through the first 8 or 9 episodes.
Okay, I think I got through 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's honestly like two entirely different shows, the first few episodes. But like I said, around 8 or 9, I think the Christmas episode is the first season. In the first season is the one where it really picks up. Because yeah,
Okay,
I would recommend it. And that's when my crush on Alison Brie started.
okay, that's understandable. Had to start somewhere.
Yes. She is a very attractive young lady.
She's a very pretty young woman.
And like 15 years ago when that show first came out and I was 25 and not 40, it was a lot less creepy for me to talk about how attractive a 19-year-old woman was.
It's like it's weird for me to say that I was in love with Lindsay Lohan when she was in The Parent Trap because she was 10, but I was also 10, so it's okay.
Honestly, Lindsay Lohan is a lot cuter with red hair than when she was blonde or whatever other
I
color she's
agree.
been.
I
Yeah.
agree.
All right, so we got 2 big episodes to talk about this week. Um,
Yeah, it's
you
exciting.
know, and I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dive right in.
Yeah, let's hit it.
All right, so let's go to the intro of the show. This is Corner Gas, Season 1, Episode 13, I Love Lacey, April 28th, 2004, from Rolo, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and all points in between. Let's play the intro of the show.
That was unbelievable. On the apple crumble scale, which I'm perfectly aware does not exist, that was a 9.99.
Thanks for inviting us. It's very good.
Well, I think it's great.
Would you like another bowl?
No, I meant getting together like this.
Oh.
Yeah, we should do it more often. Like when we went to Grey Cup.
Well, yeah, The Grey Cup, that was a great game.
Hell of a game. Oh, yeah.
Now here's a game you don't want to miss.
Oh, no.
Glad I was there in person. Boy, that's the way to see a football game.
It's just too bad we couldn't have all sat together.
Yeah. Yeah, Davis?
Well, I'm telling you, by splitting up into pairs, we got better seats.
Like Noah's Ark.
Thank God it didn't rain.
All right. You gotta love Hank sometimes, throwing out the.
I do
Now,
love Hank.
Now, as we discussed, I know you're not a fake sports fan. You do know what the Grey Cup is, right?
Yeah, it's the championship game for the Canadian Football League.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure. So, the episode starts with all 8 of our main characters there in the same spot at the same time, which does not happen all that often.
No?
While, they're all linked together one or the other, they rarely are all hanging out.
Yeah, unless it's an occasion, and they were having an occasion.
And this most certainly wasn't an occasion. And ahead of time that they all went to the Grey Cup, allegedly, and they went in 4 pairs of 2, as opposed to one big group of 8.
And as soon as the Grey Cup was mentioned, everyone looked awkwardly at each other.
So you knew that this may be the open of the show, but there's some random wackiness still to come.
Random wackiness here on Corner Gas? I can't imagine such a thing.
I know, the Corner Gas Cast. Davis had a point, though. I'm like, you've been to, sporting events. I've been to sporting events. It is not easy to get, 8 tickets all together at the same time. Your best bet is splitting them up like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm just imagining. Okay, what year was this?
2004.
2004. Okay,
Ticketmaster was a thing.
Yeah. Was online. Yeah, it would have been a thing online, but I don't know. I don't know how technologically literate Davis is. You think he went to a fucking FYE or a Suncoast Sound to buy tickets?
I mean, it's possible. I remember when I went to see the Harlem Globetrotters, we got our tickets in Sears. So,
Oh,
yeah.
neat.
So yeah, I know, right? Um, so from here we get the fat ass corner gas intro. Now I don't know if you ever watched the DVD commentary that they'd have. Every actor in the DVD commentary would comment about how much fun it was to film the intro of the show.
It's a phenomenal intro.
It really is. It really like catches you as a new viewer if you've never seen the show before. And it's a nice catchy theme song.
Yeah.
So everything in this show is in the past in this episode, except for the intro and the outro at the very end. After the intro, we go to Brent and Lacey are broken down on the side of the road because Brent, the owner of a gas station, his car is out of gas. Now, we start down the story of this episode, and that leads into the next episode when Lacey said she felt like she was in high school again, and to her, that meant that they ran out of gas a lot, while Brent's mind went to putting the moves on Lacey.
Well, I mean that's like a popular trope of like old TV shows, you run out of gas on the deserted dark road.
Well, thankfully it wasn't a dark road, but it was deserted because it's Saskatchewan and there's a big football match happening nearby, so people are at the football match. But thankfully, Brent has a gas can in the trunk, so all's well that ends well, right? Except that
Yeah.
it's completely empty.
How
Oh man,
embarrassing. The gas
it
man
is.
has no gas. Or I'm sorry, a gas man.
Yes, not the gas man. While he is the gas man in Dog River, there are many gas men all around.
Yes, correct.
Um, Now, the other story of this episode is that Lacey wants to get a tow truck, and Brent does not want to wait for a tow truck. Brent does not want to call a tow truck, and feels they should go to a farmhouse. So we go from there over to Oscar and Hank, who are stopping at Oscar's buddy Russell's house to get $20 he apparently owes Oscar. Meanwhile, Emma and Wanda are at the mall and go to the dollar store because when in doubt, go shopping.
Women of a
And
certain age love dollar stores.
I've always loved dollar stores. And, to quote Emma towards the end, it's like, you love shopping there, 15 items, $15. Except
Not
nowadays where it's like,
anymore. Yeah.
yeah, Dollar
Fucking
Tree. I don't know about down there, but Dollar Tree here is a dollar
yeah.
25 for everything.
I when I was in high school, my best friend worked at Dollar Tree, and just to annoy him, I would go in there and just like point at stuff and ask how much it was.
There was actually when I was in high school at our Dollar Tree, there was a patio set that was $10. And
Oh,
yeah, my friend, and I mean this tells you that we were just douchebags at the time. My friend put up a giant stink about that because he'd be like, "Look on the wall. It says everything in the store is a dollar. Not everything in the store is a dollar except for the patio set." Yada yada
I
yada.
mean, valid. It's a
Yeah.
valid point. Well, it's in the UK they don't have dollar stores. They have Poundland, which in America sounds like the name of something else.
Are you serious? That cannot really be
I
the
mean,
name of the store.
yeah, no, Poundland. Yeah,
Pound Land. I
Poundland.
get it.
Yeah,
I get it. It's the British dollar is a pound, but Pound Land.
exactly.
Did,
Poundland.
did, did I, did I ever tell you when I grew up and discovered that the proper name for the beanbag toss game was cornhole? I, it just like when every time I ever heard about cornhole, it was prison lingo.
The old prison wallet.
Yes. Good old cornhole. I remember laughing my ass off when I heard that for the first time.
And he pee-pees by my
Anyway,
bunghole.
good old Beavis and Butthead reference. At least that came back on the air, so it's not our usual 30-year-old TV
Yeah.
references. Um, so Karen and Davis, in case you're curious, they're actually at the game, with Davis saying he bought all the tickets himself so he could collect the frequent flyer points. However, Davis doesn't have the tickets. Karen is asking if he checked the glove compartment, and Dave said he only put gloves in the glove compartment. You won't put the tickets in the glove compartment, you only put gloves, leading to Karen deadpanning the line of the episode, "I hate to see what you put in a handbag."
It is entirely consistent with Davis's character to only put gloves in the glove compartment.
It truly is.
I only,
Back to
other than like the car manual and stuff, the only time I use my glove compartment is when I have certain products that I've purchased from an independent pharmacy consultant because my glove box locks, and to quote the poet Jay-Z, my glove compartment is locked, so is the trunk in the back, and I know my rights, so you're gonna need a warrant for that.
Okay then. Let's hope this isn't the episode that gets 10,000 listeners. Um, Back to Brent and Lacey, who are at the farmhouse, but no one is home. Lacey still wants to call a tow truck, but Brent begs not to and checks around the back. And Lacey, being Lacey, calls a tow truck anyway.
Yeah, this
Um,
is toxic masculinity at play here. I pay my AAA membership every month for a damn reason.
I mean, this is also still the mid 2000s, And, it's kind of hard to believe because, especially it's not that long ago. It was 20 years ago. But it's like there was still way too much toxic masculinity out there. And it's really not for, and I mean, it's starting to evolve, but it's really not for a good 5, 10 years that things start getting closer to what it is now. Um,
Yeah.
so, uh, back with Hank and Oscar, Russell is not answering the door. However, you can hear the TV on as Hank and Oscar snipe at each other. Wanda then talks to Emma in the dollar store about how she buys Christmas presents here, and Emma pointed out that she's wearing a bracelet that Wanda bought her for Christmas. And of course, Wanda's like, "Oh, where did I buy that? Oh, look over there." And then before our first commercial break, we find out that Russell is dead.
Told you he was here.
Yep.
Don't
Oscar had a point. Russell was
yeah.
there.
Don't buy people presents at the dollar store. That's undignified.
You get what you pay for at the dollar store. Yeah. Back from commercial, Brent has stolen gas from someone else's gas can. And he
How?
does say yeah, he does say he left some money for him, but that's a kind of shitty thing to do there, don't you think?
Well, I'm sure it won't have any negative repercussions.
That's true. I'm sure everything is all set now. Now, Lacey, realizing they were safe, tries to surreptitiously call the tow truck while Brent is standing right there. So she acts like she's calling her mom and then told the tow truck driver that she loves him, which
Yes.
sweet moment. And so the tow truck driver tows the truck anyway because they just assume Brent and Lacey got a ride back into town.
Yeah. It was funny. They like called back and they were already in the process of towing the car.
And I gotta say, as someone who's had to call AAA a few times before, I question how fast they got out there. Now I get CAA may be a little better than AAA, but still.
But
Oscar and
still.
Hank. Yep. Speaking of people who arrived way too fast, well, I guess we're not quite there yet. But Oscar and Hank have called the police and are waiting impatiently. Hank starts writing a note for the first responders who will show up when Oscar notices Russell's nice belt. And that
Yeah.
more on
Good
that to come.
good to know that police are worthless in Canada too.
Yes. Plus, who do you
Oscar,
call?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, who do you
I was,
call? Do you call the mounted police? Do you call the regular police?
are they different?
I don't know. I think so
Why
because I
aren't
mean, Davis isn't a Mountie. Karen isn't a Mountie.
Yeah, the Mounties are like they're like the National Police Force, probably like the equivalent of the FBI.
There's if anybody's listening to this show from Canada and this is your first episode, we're sorry if we just offended you.
Well, I mean, I don't mean look,
Yeah,
we're
we are dumb Americans who
look,
discovered this show.
Canadians, these two Americans are we're on the same side right now, trust us.
Yes. We are two dumb Americans who discovered this show. I discovered it through Lance Storm, and I forget who you said you discovered it through.
It was also through Lance Storm. Yeah, the he voices
Y-
Lance Fury in the animated show.
Yes, that's how we found out about it.
Yeah. By the
Um,
way, Oscar and Hank are like the best pairing on the show. They play off each other brilliantly because they're both stupid, but Oscar is smart enough to outsmart Hank.
which really isn't saying a whole lot.
Right,
That
exactly.
jackass. Uh, Back to Emma and Wanda, who are now checking out, and the cashier accuses Emma of shoplifting because she was wearing the same bracelet that they sold for 99 cents. Now, this is where I have to nitpick, Trey. This is where I have
Yeah.
a problem. This dollar store apparently sells such shoddy merchandise that anyone who comes in wearing something that was legally purchased, they immediately accuse of stealing. Like, it is an awful way to get repeat customers. Plus, as we saw, the bracelets were up by the checkout guy. He would have noticed had Emma just reached her arm over and slipped the bracelet onto her wrist.
Emma did absolutely nothing wrong here.
Well, she eventually does. But
nah, that was what the situation deserved. I would have done the same thing.
Well, then we go back to Davis and Karen, and Davis cannot find the tickets. So he is going to go to a scalper. And Karen proceeds to pick out the most obvious prostitute in the history of prostitutes. Trae, do you think she did this on purpose?
The prostitute?
That Karen picked out the prostitute.
Is Karen that smart? I don't know.
I think she was, even though season 1 Karen was also the one who made out with Hank because of his sexy fish talk.
He's different when he's fishing, Arya.
He definitely is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a comically look, as soon as you saw this woman, you knew she was selling something and it wasn't football tickets.
Probably not.
Hey, Arya.
Well, back to Hey, Trae.
Do you know the difference between a prostitute and a drug dealer?
No, what?
A prostitute can wash her crack and sell it again.
Imagine if anybody does listen to the show for the first time ever.
I can't. Why? What? That would be hilarious if this was the show.
How did you make it 22 minutes into the show? I guess we should ask. If there is new people.
Yeah, at least we know if anybody started listening, they've stopped now, so we can say whatever we want.
Very true. Very true. So back to Oscar, who's now stealing Russell's belt and has a funny Russell story to tell, which was them sitting in a car in 1963, and Russell telling him that when he dies, he wants Oscar to have his belt. And then, sure enough, as soon as they start removing the belt, the quietest police in the history of police showed up in the house.
Yeah, I hate pointing out that wasn't a funny story. But what we didn't mention the scene when they arrive at Russell's house, they have a fantastic exchange. I was hoping you would play it and you didn't. Russell's quite a character. I could tell you some funny stories. Oh yeah, like what? None of your business.
You know you're allowed to give me timestamps, right? To play on this show. Oh, well, next week.
I assume you had it under control.
All right, so we've set up Karen telling Davis who to go to for the football tickets. So let's pay it off. Let's go and listen now to Davis approaching the scalper for the tickets.
I would like to buy some merchandise from you.
Sorry?
I said I want to buy some merchandise from you. I'll pay. Use whatever word you want. I'll pay.
Okay. You're, under arrest.
For scalping?
For soliciting.
Oh, poor Davis. Davis is being arrested.
What a comical misunderstanding.
Who would have thunk it's a prostitute? You know?
Okay, if you can't trust prostitutes, who can you trust?
I really don't know. And then my favorite wasn't even just the prostitute arresting Davis. Karen sees what's happening, and instead of trying to go over and help, she scurries away.
Very Karen behavior.
Yes. See, this is why Davis calls her a rookie forever.
Yeah.
Um, so over in jail, on the other side of jail, Hank tells Oscar the story would have been funnier with horns and silly hats. He does have a point.
It was so funny because it was the exact same scene, but they were wearing ridiculous jester hats and had a horn.
That would have been a much funnier scene. I don't know what you think about that.
It was definitely funnier.
Yeah. So Lacey finally admits that she called a tow truck because they're just walking up and down this highway and somehow can't find the car. She then tries to call the tow truck company, but she doesn't have a signal. If only they would have put up that new cell phone tower and torn down the rat-infested grain elevator.
If only. See, that's typical Lacey. That is Lacey to a T. She tries to help and fucks everything up.
Yep. God damn it, Lacey. So the cashier is still fighting with Emma about the bracelet and grabs Emma's wrist. Now, we don't see what happened, but we have to let our imaginations run wild as the grimace on Wanda's face tells the story as the cashier is dropped.
She struck this man with great violence.
Yes. With great vengeance and furious anger.
Don't touch Emma.
Nope. You saw what happened when Hank kissed her that time.
Emma's a bad bitch.
Yeah. Davis said the police officer was a bad prostitute when they got to the station. He finally tells her that he's a cop. You think that would be the first thing he'd say. However, he doesn't have his badge because then we find out that his badge is back in his glove compartment with the tickets.
That's a
Dun,
fantastic,
dun, dun.
fantastic payoff to the whole thing earlier.
Yes. So Karen arrives and Davis realizes his credit card is maxed out from buying all these tickets.
Oh.
Over in the other side of jail, Oscar and Hank are let out of jail, and Oscar ends up bribing the officer with his jacket in exchange for Russell's belt.
Oscar doesn't know how to pick his battles.
No, he really doesn't. I mean, but who knows? That may have been a really nice belt. We don't know.
I mean, it was a nice belt.
Although, the funny thing is now the police could have gotten him on bribery charges too, but, oh well.
And I mean, Russell did allegedly, purportedly owe Oscar $20. So
yeah,
call it
$20 in $20 in 1963. That's up to like $60 come 2004.
I've paid $60 for a belt in 2004. I bet.
I doubt I've spent $60 on two belts, at any point in my life.
It's different for fat men's clothing.
Let's go to Brent and Lacey, who they're sitting outside the farmhouse.
Oh, my feet are killing me.
Man, too bad this wasn't a walkathon. We could have gotten sponsors and raised some money.
Let's face it, you just wanted to get me out here in the middle of nowhere. Another one of your innocent victims, like in high school.
If we were in high school, you would have put the moves on me by now.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to put the moves on you, but I got a wicked case of jerry can elbow.
You want to put the moves on me?
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant, obviously, I'd like to put the moves on you.
Right. Yeah, you've said that twice.
Only in the sense that, naturally, I would want to put the moves on you.
That's 3 times.
Explain this walkathon idea.
Poor Brent and Lacey. So awkward. Two people in their mid-30s.
They so obviously want each other, but they're both scared and awkward.
Yes. And that'll pay off. Actually, it doesn't pay off until the movie. But
and the animated series kind of takes it away.
Yes. Well, we don't know how much time has passed after the movie until the animated series in the sense of the show. So, it's possible that the animated series may actually be before the movie.
Yeah, except they have like modern. Never mind.
Are we really talking about the realism in the animated series here? Although I guess in the movie they didn't have a statue of Jane T. Wright, so there's
I
that.
I love how in like one of the early episodes of the animated series, Wanda goes, "I just feel less restricted by the boundaries of reality lately."
That is a great line.
Yes.
So Emma is not only going to be arrested, but also banned from the dollar store. What the hell is with this episode? Everyone's getting arrested. However, to get out of trouble, Wanda gives him her Grey Cup tickets. Her and Emma's.
Uh-huh.
So
And by the way, I'm pretty sure that Emma could take like every dollar store clerk.
Oh, there's no doubt. And we don't just mean like one-on-one. We mean like every dollar store clerk trying to attack Emma at the same time.
Yes, that is exactly what I meant. But yeah, this is where the stories start to come together.
Yes. So Karen is now bailing Davis out of jail in exchange for Davis's points. Now Davis is just too nice of a person here because Karen owes him money for those tickets, for her ticket anyway. So, what this should be above and beyond whatever that is. However, when they get to the window, the female bail clerk gets a call from the dollar store employee who is apparently dating female cop and says, "Hey, I got Grey Cup tickets." And she's like, "Oh, let's go." And she closes the bail stand before Davis can bail out. And she runs off.
Poor
Then
Davis
we get
cannot catch a break.
Nope. Then we get to Brent hitting on Lacey and the big moment. This is the season 1 finale. So Brent leans in for a kiss, but just before their lips touch, the farmer returns, mistaking Brent for his cow and thus stopping them.
How do you mistake Brent for a cow?
Well, you see, he's fat, so, you know.
Okay, that's valid.
Oh,
I guess.
yeah.
He was wearing a leather jacket, kind of.
True. So Oscar and Hank are at the Grey Cup, and Oscar goes to pull out his tickets and realize he doesn't have them. Where the hell are they? They're in his jacket that he traded for Russell's belt.
Yes, they are.
And to make things wackier and crazier, we go back to the bail desk where Davis and Karen are now getting ready to bail Davis out again when the police officer who traded the jacket for the belt came up and gave the new bail man the jacket as a gift, and inside the jacket there's Grey Cup tickets, and they close the window and go off to the Grey Cup.
Can you just leave work like that if you're a cop?
Apparently.
Huh.
Apparently it was pretty easy to get off. I don't know. So we go back to Brent and Lacey, and the farmer has agreed to give Brent and Lacey a ride back into town. What a nice, magnanimous gesture on behalf of that farmer. However, he's out of gas. That's okay, because he's got a jerry can in the back. The same jerry can that Brent took the gas from earlier in the episode.
So again, Brent and Lacey are screwed over by their own actions.
Yes. Now, of course, we never find how Davis did get out of prison, how Brent and Lacey got back to Dog River, or anything like that. Because, hey, it's 21 minutes into the show, and it's time to close things up here. The episode ends back at the Ruby with everyone parting. Brent is sweeping up at the gas station when Lacey sneaks up behind him. Brent says they should go to a football game for real sometime. All 8 of them. And more awkwardness happens among 30-somethings as the episode and season 1 come to an end.
They're talking about how Lacey kind of implies that they had the moment and the moment passed. And I just can't imagine that Brent Leroy has ever seized a moment in his life. Strikes me as much more of a carpe denim than a carpe diem.
Now, when did you find out that Brent and Wanda were married in real life?
Um, when I started like researching the series, I guess.
Okay, okay. So I got to ask you, who's the hottest woman in Dog River? Lacey, Wanda, Karen, or Emma?
Uh,
Oh,
I okay,
oh,
Lacey.
right.
Lacey's very pretty, and I like brunettes, but Lacey's too uptight. Uh, Wanda's probably a lot of fun.
For me, it's Lacey, and I know she's a little uptight, but I love tall women, love dark-haired women. You know, she fits the bill.
Yeah,
Plus,
she does. It's
yeah,
just it. I don't know. But Karen's probably fun too. Karen has a whimsical side that I bet makes her more fun to be around.
she is, even though she is a cop. And I mean, Emma, like, no shame in her game. You know, who some people, ow, I just bit my tongue. Some people like big, strong women.
I mean, she birthed Brett. Clearly, she has good genes.
Yeah. And I mean, she may be she is actually the strongest person in Dog River. 'Cause, I mean, there was that scene where she's carrying her bags of groceries and she hands them off to Hank and Karen, who both nearly dropped them.
Yeah, got that mom strength.
So I have to ask you a sensitive question. And I know you live in a big city, Houston, but does Houston have a Woolerton?
Dallas?
So every time someone mentions Dallas, you spit?
No, no,
God damn it.
it's not that.
So I do have a town that I tried to turn into Woolerton, but it didn't pick up. It's nearby called Fall River. And every time I'd say Fall River, I'd spit. And I mean, no one, of course, got the joke because, who the hell else watches Canadian sitcoms but the weirdo over here? Um, but
Isn't that where? Isn't that where Filthy Tom is from? The UFC
no,
fighter? I don't know, somewhere
as
around there.
probably. Anyway, so I'm sorry, Filthy Tom, if you are from Fall River, but that's what I think of Fall River.
And
Um,
when I was growing up in Arkansas, it was I'm from a town called Crossit, and the next town over was called Hamburg, which you would think that there's maybe like some kind of ties to the city in Germany of the same name, but no. Apparently, a traveler came through in like the early 19th century and was just so tickled that they had so many fine hams on display, and the people were so proud of that that they named the town Hamburg. But anyway, that was the closest I ever had to a Woolerton, but that's still usually in Arkansas nobody spits unless they are chewing tobacco.
by the way, Filthy Tom is from Fall River, and then he moved to Swansea before ending up in Florida. So screw
Okay.
Tom Waller, damn it. Anywho, let's go to our next episode. It is the season premiere now, It is Corner Gas Season 2, Episode 1, The Brent Effect, October 5th, 2004, from Rollo, Saskatchewan. Let's go to the intro of the show right now with Brent and Hank.
Hey, Brent. How tall are you?
Same height as usual. I'm just sitting down.
Answer the question. How tall are you?
About 5'9".
My point exactly.
Did I just lose an argument I wasn't even in?
My point is that nobody from our generation uses the metric system for height. We use kilometers, we use liters, we use grams, but the height thing never made the transition to the metric system from the old, whatever it's called, system.
Are we in an argument or not?
You ask anybody over the age of 30 how tall they are, they're going to tell you in feet and inches. Huh? Watch. Hey, Wanda.
What?
What size is that milk you're putting out?
Some 2 liters and some half liters.
How tall are you?
Yes, Hank, I'm short. Very funny. You're a regular Jay Lamo. I'm still tall enough to kick your sorry ass.
Now ask her if she's over 30.
Oh, Lord. I will say Jay Lamo was a great line.
Or Hank. Wanda's kind of mean to him. Like, more than he deserves. Like,
I mean,
everybody else
she does. I mean, he's best friends with, Brent, but she's got to spend all day, pretty much every day, there in Corner Gas with him, even though he doesn't work there. He's constantly asking for money, and I can totally see why she's sick of him. Now we do see at times that that she is nice to him at times.
Yeah. By the way, so this first scene here was in the interior of Corner Gas. Did you notice the other episode? I bet that's one of the only episodes in the show where we never see the interior of Corner Gas the whole episode.
Honestly, the only place we saw the interior of was the Ruby, at least of the normal sets.
Yeah, that's right.
We weren't at the cop shop. We didn't go to the Foo Mart. We didn't go to Oscar and Emma's house. Nothing like that. So yeah.
This is not a show that typically has a wide variety of sets. It's mostly the same 6 places in a small town.
So the reason why we wanted to do these 2 episodes specifically is these are the only 2 episodes that feed into each other in the entire series. And that's all 6 seasons in a movie and the animated series. And after the end of the last episode where Lacey and Brent have a moment, Lacey wants to talk about it. And she spends the entire episode trying to talk to pretty much everybody about it, starting with Wanda. And she tells Wanda the story about how they almost kissed. And Wanda, of course, kind of blows it off. And actually, this is even before we get to that point. This is just Wanda blowing off the idea of any guy being worth it, but freezes when Lacey mentions Brent.
Ooh. Interesting there.
Yeah. So we go to the cop shop where Davis is showing up after going somewhere, and Karen says to keep his jacket on because they have a call about gunfire. However, it turns out that Davis is the reason for the gunfire. He was shooting near crows, not at crows, but near crows. And he points out that out on Lumsden's farm, they do not have a scary scarecrow, and that scarecrows should look scary. That's the point. But Karen says he still has to file a report.
I like Davis's version of a scarecrow. By the way, this is old because now nobody would call the cops for gunshots. They would post on Nextdoor. Was that gunshots?
Or not even next door. They just post in on Facebook.
Yeah.
So back to Wanda and Lacey. Lacey asks Wanda if Brent ever talks about her, and Wanda says, yeah, but it has to do with the specials, i.e., steak sandwich is good, salad is bad. And that's when Lacey says that they almost had a thing. And yeah.
Salad isn't special.
No. Steak sandwiches are good shit, so I'm with Brent on that one.
Absolutely. I do agree with that.
Over to Hank, where Hank is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So okay. This isn't the scene where Brent is probably like a rural Saskatchewan 8, right?
I think especially in Dog River, like the only person I'd rate above him is Davis.
It's it's a very low bar for the men of Dog River. Yeah, he actually, funnily enough, I think he looks a lot like my buddy Cecil.
Brent or Davis?
Brent.
Okay.
Davis is a very handsome man, though.
Davis is very cuddly.
Yes.
Totally get my cuddle on with Davis.
Davis is a sweetheart.
Definitely. So Hank tells Brent that some sap bought his outbound motor for $90. And coincidentally, Oscar walks in saying he needs to hide from Emma. However, Emma is already there. Dun, dun, dun.
That Oscar sure does have a lot of comical mishaps. What a hammerhead.
Jackass. Hammerhead's disrespectful. What's a jackass? A pat on the bum?
Yeah, suppose.
So Lacey finally tells us what almost happened at the Grey Cup. Wanda said that almost kissing is a big deal for grade 7. And Lacey says she just wants to be friends, but doesn't want to hurt Brent's feelings. So Emma says that Oscar has done a lot of stupid things in his life, but he's never stolen from her before. And Oscar went into her drawer and stole $90 from her nightstand in an envelope that was marked "Do Not Touch," which
found money.
Yes. This confirms, of course, that he is the sap who was buying Hank's motor. And after a brief interlude, they argue about it potentially being a present when Lacey yanks Brent away.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to figure out. I got away from what this was confusing to take notes on. Yeah, I found where I am, I think.
You're lucky that I'm a copious note taker.
Yeah, yeah, you are. That's good. Well, you're the lead. I take more notes on the podcast that I'm the lead on.
Wait a second. There's a podcast you have the lead on, but I guess you have another podcast talking about some random stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, but, the 90s. There was a lot of stuff going on culturally in the 90s.
Yes. You watched the Goldbergs on your other show, although I guess that was the 80s. So you watched Schooled.
No, but I definitely watched Goldberg.
Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks?
Is there another one?
I don't know. He's probably a lawyer somewhere or something. So Lacey wants to talk to Brent about what happened, and Brent basically cuts her off, saying that he wishes they wouldn't have to talk. He said he doesn't feel like they should be a couple. She's great, they're great, and he likes her a lot, but they should just remain friends. Lacey should have been happier about this because that's exactly what she wanted, but she was so obviously thrown off. And then when Brent finds out that the lunch special today is pork chops, he celebrates. And hey, pork chops for lunch. That's a lot for lunch, though, don't you think?
Well, it depends on how thick the pork chop. I like a thinner pork chop. I like a thinner pork chop on the grill. I think that is most flavorful you can get a pork chop. And I have not had those in forever, but I realized when they mentioned pork chops that I might be getting a new grill soon, among other things, and I've decided I'm gonna take it upon myself to learn how to use the grill. So I'm gonna grill some pork chops.
Good luck. And hopefully you learn before July when I come down there so we can watch Corner Gas together. I don't want you to
Yeah,
blow up the grill.
I think we're gonna get an electric grill.
Nice. Now, as we learned from a future season of Corner Gas, that if you do have to fill up gas tanks, you can disconnect, uh, you know, the canisters to take to the gas station and not just bring the entire unit.
Oh, thanks. That's good to
Yes.
know.
So after commercial, we go to the cop shop where Karen is asking questions to file the report. Davis is getting defensive, but in his defense, Karen is giving him a hard time.
Karen's being a real Karen about this whole thing.
Yeah. Now, there's a woman who's trying to get gas, but Emma is chasing Oscar all around this poor person's car, and she ends up driving off without getting any gas. And I'm worried because, as they've established in the first episode, it's like 40 miles until the next gas station. So I hope she has enough gas in the tank.
And then Brent comes out and he's trying to talk to the lady, and she goes, "I just want out of here." And Brent goes, "I know the feeling."
Oh, Lord. So Lacey now is going around to the rest of town to see what's going on. Lacey asks Wanda. She tells her what Brent said, and Wanda says that Brent is just out of her league. Lacey is a lovely, intelligent woman, but Brent is just unattainable, and that she needs to lower her standards and get back in the game.
Yeah, lower your standards to, I mean, not all the way to Hank, but
I mean,
lower.
Hank is an unemployed, dark-haired man whose name starts with R.
That's true. That's true. Lacey Lacey seeks a lot of external validation, and I can say from personal experience, it's exhausting to be in a relationship with someone who needs constant external validation. So Brett might be dodging a bullet here.
Yeah, but I mean that might explain why they broke up after the movie.
It
In
could,
theory.
I didn't think about that. It could very well be.
Yep. Um. So, let's see here. Karen is interrogating Davis and asks if Davis wants coffee. Unfortunately, they're all out of coffee. God damn it.
Oh,
Yep.
how about that?
So Lacey is now telling Hank what Wanda said, and Hank said that Brent is gorgeous, even though Hank is a guy and can't tell, but women are always throwing themselves at Brent. And
Yeah.
yeah. After another brief visit to the cop shop where Karen is drinking coffee, Lacey asks Emma if she thinks Brent likes her. Emma says that the problem is Brent is too good looking and that it's a curse and a blessing. But don't be too hurt if Brent is beyond her reach.
I love how everyone there is like has fallen victim to the Brent effect, and Lacey is just baffled by it.
Uh, um, and then we get to the scene where Oscar officially gives Hank the money for the outbound motor. Um, now
Yeah.
we haven't played a lot of audio in this episode, but let's go to the culmination of the Karen and Davis situation. And Karen is finishing up her report.
all over the place. Sometimes I shoot at signposts, sometimes I shoot at sparrows, only because I know I'll never hit them. And sometimes I shoot straight up into the air, you know, to celebrate stuff.
Well, this has been a real eye-opener, Davis. Gotta tell you.
Now what? I mean, what happens next? You think I'll get disciplined? You think I'll get fired?
What happens next is I sign this report, make it official, and according to regulation, I hand the completed report to my superior officer. Here you go, sir.
Poor Davis. He got run through the ringer there by Karen.
Poor Davis. Karen was fucking with him. Well, I meant to mention in the last scene that I kind of alluded to it earlier that like Oscar usually will outsmart Hank. Now, when Oscar outsmarts Hank, Oscar knows he's doing it. Now, Hank outsmarts Oscar sometimes, but it's by accident. And it's not just Oscar. Hank outsmarts people by being so stupid.
There you go. Ah.
And we see that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We see that in the next scene, right? That we're in the Dog River Hotel. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you have anything to say about the Karen and Davis situation?
Oh, I don't know. It's just funny. Like Karen is just fucking with him, like she does. It's fun to troll Davis.
That officer right there was trying to fuck on me.
Phrasing.
Crazy line. So Hank is playing pool, and Emma wants her $90. And is like, you know what? We should play for the $90. And Hank is worried that he's pretty good at pool and doesn't want to hustle her. But he says it in a way, and they shoot it in a way that it's like, okay, it's the TV trope. You know, I'm pretty good at pool, but then, you know, Emma kicks his ass at pool and gets the $90. That is not what happened here.
It
poor.
It was like a reverse hustle. He tried to warn her.
Yes. And poor Hank is out the $90 and the motor. Like, you don't think Oscar gave that motor back, do you?
You see, number one, anytime Hank gets one over on somebody, it's by accident. And number B, Emma just exhausts him into submission, so he ultimately loses anyway.
Yes. Oh, Lord. So Lacey now asks Karen about the Brent situation. Karen props her up by saying she's better looking for girls than Brent is for boys, and that sometimes you tell your friends what they want to hear before telling Lacey that she needs to lower the bar.
She also, before that, thought that Lacey was coming on to her.
You know, that's kind of the opposite, because usually it's Lacey who thinks everybody's into her.
Yeah, what was it? You think everybody's got a crush on you?
Yeah. By the way, did you ever watch Frasier back in the day?
A little bit. Some. I was never like a real diligent watcher, but I would watch it now and then. I don't know her name. The brunette British woman. God, I love her.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because Lacey was on an episode.
Oh, really?
Yes. She was in the car garage, and Frasier was trying to pick her up and trying to get her number, and she just blew him off.
Oh, I think I might have mentioned this. Before. Karen was on an episode of the U.S. version of Ghost.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just a very brief scene. She plays a younger version of one of the characters.
She played the younger version of one of the characters. I mean, I love Karen, but she's roughly my age.
No, the character is an old woman.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So the next day, Lacey has a theory. Because they live in a town full of flawed men, Brent, while not being tragically flawed, he looks like an incredibly attractive man in comparison to Hank, Davis, and especially Fitzy. Poor Fitzy. What did Fitzy ever do to her?
Poor Fitzy. It's his grandma, isn't it?
Yes. Poor Fitzy's grandmother, Helen, apparently.
Yeah. Didn't it never say her name until the animated series?
No, they say it in season 6 when
Okay,
Helen
season 6.
when she steals Emma's jam to win the jam contest.
Yeah.
Now Karen and Wanda let her go, but realize she's completely full of shit.
Yeah.
Then Emma threatens Oscar that he will get his, which transitions to a scene where Oscar finds holes in his boat. So then he decides to put holes into Emma's mixing bowls. However, it turns out that Emma did not put the holes in the boat, but Oscar says sure. He just left his boat out at Lumsden's farm and someone came along and shot it.
And it all ties back together.
Yes. So I got to play my favorite scene of the episode here towards the end. Let's go to that right now.
I'm gonna be more careful with my gun from now on.
So you're not mad at me anymore?
Nah, you were right. You put a good scare into me. I learned my lesson.
Davis, I got a nest of squirrels or something in my attic. Can I borrow your gun?
Here you go.
Nice.
Davis?
Oh, right. When you're finished, you're gonna have to file a report.
Not likely.
What?
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Davis, in an effort to be responsible, like, you're gonna have to file a report.
It's like a lot of the characters are dumb in their own way, but Davis is dumb in like the sweetest, funniest, most earnest way.
Yes. All right. So the show ends with Lacey and Brent talking again. Brent talks about how much he loves chili cheese dogs and how they're bite size, and he shoves a nice big chunk of it into his mouth at once.
Anything
And
is
with
bite
food,
size if you have a big enough bite.
very true. With food coming out of his mouth, Lacey just like, "You're out of my league," and Brent, with mouth full, is like, "What does that mean?" And that's when the show comes to an end.
The beginning of the scene when Lacey walks in and says, "How's it going?" And Brent says, "I'm sitting down. I'm eating. For a lazy glutton, this is like a perfect day."
You thought Brent was talking to you that time, didn't you?
I mean, he knew.
So I think, in my opinion, it's safe to say that Davis was the MVP of this episode. Or Davis was the MVP of both episodes, I would say.
That's valid. Yeah, that's fair. Davis is the MVP of a lot of episodes.
Yes. He's one of the more, I don't want to say he's one of the more underrated characters, but it's like, so much of the love is given to Brent, Hank, and Wanda, who deserve all their flowers, but Davis is right up there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this week's Corner Gas episodes. And you gotta, like, the show went 6 years, 6 seasons before went to the movie and then the animated series. Do you think the live action series ended too soon, or was 6 seasons enough?
I don't think any show really needs to go more than 6 seasons.
I mean, they got out on a high note. You were left wanting more.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody wants like everybody just thinks they want to get more of what they want. But it's like it's better. Like, I loved How I Met Your Mother for the first 6 or so seasons. The last few seasons, it became a little more difficult, and the last season was like actively a chore. So like I feel like you want to end before people are sick of it.
Definitely. Now, I'll also say I thought season 6, I think, is their weakest of the 6 seasons. And it's like it felt during it like, okay, it's time to wrap things up.
Yeah, yeah, it did feel like that.
And I remember, like, I don't want to say it's my least favorite episode, but one of those episodes that I'm not a fan when I do the rewatches is Bend It Like Brent, where Lacey and Brent are the sponsors of a soccer team. And
Oh, that's
I think
Lacey's
it's,
second worst episode.
yeah, I'm with you. I think it's, and I don't know if it's because, it's mostly kids or if it's mostly people we've never seen before that she's being mean to. It just feels like she's being unnecessarily mean and not in a funny way.
Yeah, she has weird little quirks that come out at surprising times.
So what do you think her worst episode was?
The moving one.
Oh God, yes. How did I
Yeah.
forget that one? Like
Mm-hmm.
that was unnecessary.
That makes me angry.
Yeah. Why? Like that just, and they tried to like quirky it up a bit, but it's like, yeah, it's like we've seen Lacey for however many seasons this is now. It's like she would not act like this.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
so
season
weird.
6 too.
It's yeah. It's weird. It kind of happens a lot that it just, I don't know. I guess it's consistent is that she just comes out with these weird little prejudices or like weird little quirks at times. But yeah, like the movie, like, look, if you help me move, I'm gonna make sure the beer's cold and the pizza's fresh.
I appreciate that. You wouldn't just give me a coupon for like $5 off a pizza at the Ruby?
Oh no, I would at least buy you Domino's.
As long as I got to pick the toppings, we might be fine with that.
You
So
know what I really like? I am a big fan of the New York style crust that they've come out with fairly recently because that is exactly how thick I want my crust, and I didn't realize that. Because I don't like thin crust because I don't want pizza crust to be crispy, but I don't want it to be like a loaf of bread at every slice.
you said no Chicago style deep dish pizza for you.
Okay, that's different. That's a whole different thing.
I was like when I went to Chicago for reasons a few years ago, I made sure to get a Chicago deep dish pizza while I was there.
Yeah, yeah, I went to Chicago for my birthday weekend, Labor Day weekend back in 2018.
Nice.
And
I went
I
Labor Day
also had
weekend 2022.
oh, fun. Labor Day in Chicago is usually a pretty good time, I hear.
Yeah. I while I was there, I heard about this great muffin place, but unfortunately they're closed on Mondays.
You know, I hear they have a really good ice cream place there.
Yes, yes. I hear if you need like a bulk order of like ice cream sandwiches or something, that's the place to go.
Indeed, indeed.
Mm.
Hear very, very good things.
So I got to ask you this because I don't know why I never bothered to look this up, but I've been having an issue because my outlet is too far away from the rest of me. And so I've had to use a power strip, and it's always like stretching my cords a little too taut. I don't know why I never thought about this before, but did you know they make power strips with long cords?
Yeah, I guess I
Like
did. You don't
like it
really think
seems
about it
so
until you're looking at
obvious.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
I
I so my nightstand is to my right when I sleep.
Mhm.
But um I sometimes I need like some kind of music or something playing so I don't have to hear the bad thoughts when I'm trying to sleep.
Mhm.
So I but I hear better out of my left ear. So the solution is a 10-foot charge cord.
I see it. Speaking of which, I got a 10-foot power strip. So,
Nice.
yeah. All right. So, I guess we might as well start wrapping things up. Um, before we wrap things up, do you want to tell the listeners, or should I?
Tell them what.
April Fools.
I thought we weren't going to sell it.
Hmm. Sorry,
Bye.
it was a brilliant idea to do an April Fool's joke talking about corner gas when we discovered like 3 weeks ago that April 1st was on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we'll be back tomorrow and Thursday and forever and ever 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 again. Because again, we still got like 5 years of shows to watch. But that's gonna do it for this week's episode. Before we go, Trey, you have anything else you got to say?
Don't be a jackass. And don't be a
Hammer,
hammerhead either.
Hammerhead. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.